name's Lemme, up in Bare Knuckle Choppers today, and we'll do a quick article on setting up a points system for somebody who wants to keep it simple, who doesn't have the means for electronic ignition or coming from an electronic ignition, and then we'll static time it too. Just give you a rough idea to get you close, and let's go. Right here on the cam there is a little tiny notch that you must line up this little kit in there with, and it's very important that it gets lined up correctly. So first thing first, make sure that you get the weights in there correctly on that notch in the cam. Once you get the weights in there, just make sure that they move freely and whatnot, and then you'll be ready to set your points in on top of this. Make sure when you're putting it in that the weights don't move, they don't turn somehow. Letting this fall on a flat spot. And then you will put in your standoffs and keep them loose because we need to time it yet. Last and not least, bolt your weights to the cam. And that's how we're going to time it. For static timing, now we're going to run over to the other side and pull the plug on the case and get the front cylinder on top dead center, and then we can come back over and static time it. Top dead center will be the front piston all the way at its highest point before it starts coming back down, and that's going to be where we will get spark when the disconnect closes back together. First we need to remove this plug. I'm going to remove the spark plug on the front cylinder. That way we can get ourselves real close. Once we can see or feel the piston getting near the top, then we can come back down to this peephole here and see exactly where we're at on the flywheels. There is 3 marks on the crank. There is a hash mark, just a vertical line, and then there is an advanced mark and a retard mark, and both of those are a little circle. We're looking for this straight up and down line. For here is the disconnect to be approaching the top of this short lobe on the weights here. There's a wide lobe on the back side, and this is a real short lobe, and this is exactly what we're looking for, is to be coming right up on the top of that short lobe right here, and that's where we're going to gap the disconnect. Set the gap and shit. At this point you can tighten down your standoffs a bit so that your points don't move anymore, because we're real close. Static timing is just to give you a good idea of where you're going to be. It'll need to be timed later on with the light, you know, to get more precise, get it running better and whatnot. But this is just what we're looking for right now. Only thing left to do is gap the points, which I'm going to do next. Last thing here, we need to gap the disconnect, and you want to make sure, again, like I said, that your disconnect is up on the top of the lobe here. You don't want it fall down in a valley here anywhere, because it won't work. But at this point we gap to about 20 thousandths of an inch, or I guess I gap a little bit more, but the nice thing about points is that if this breaks down on the side of the road, you can find enough stuff to fix it. They're handy. I mean, you don't necessarily need a feeler gauge to put this together. You know, you can use something that's close. Well, boys used to use a matchbook or something like that to gap points off of. So it's handy if it breaks down on the side of the road compared to electronic ignition. It runs nice until it breaks down on the side of the road. Your SOL, there's nothing you can do to fix it right then and there except get new parts. So that's the nice thing about points. So we're gonna gap to 20 thousandths or so, and it's rather simple. Stick your feeler gauge in there and make sure the disconnect is all the way down, touching the top of the cam there. And tighten. Now as you tighten, this plate could move a little bit, so you could say it fell down there. I haven't got enough gap. So back and forth a couple of times, doing what you need to do until you get that gap just right. There it moves freely. At this point we would fire it and time it and whatnot. This bike's not wired and Paul is going to wire it. And maybe at the end of that we will time it precisely, get a light out and whatnot. But again, the nice thing about points compared to electronic ignition, if you break down on the side of the road, you know, you can get a lift to an Advanced Auto Parts or something, you know, and get yourself a condenser and a set of points and get it fixed right then and there, compared to, you know, having to order something from Twin Tech or whatever it may be.